on?
You're on. You're on. I
Oh
got
my,
3, 2, 1 as well.
oh my God, what am I going to do now? Oh, geez. Okay, we can talk about what we're doing. Well, recording, I see, now I got a message. Recording has started. The meeting is being recorded. By joining, you are giving consent for this meeting to be recorded.
Mm-hmm.
Private, I probably need to call my agent.
Mm-hmm.
She'll be happy to hear from me. And I usually work for Double Scale.
What's that? Double scale.
Well, when you hire, when you lease your image and your voice, voice is after American Federation of Radio and Television Artists.
Okay.
And then then you've got SAG, which is Screen Actors Guild. And then you've got AEA, which is Actors Equity Association for live performances, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Then you've got another one, which I never joined because it's, I don't even know what it is, but it deals with like circus performers, right?
Okay.
So, yeah, and anyway, what's happening is you've got one organization that's gobbling up all the others.
Uh,
Like when, I think, what was my first one? My first one was, I think, SAG, Screen Actors Guild,
okay.
was my parent company. And then when you were on SAG, at one point in time, this is 20, 25 years ago, you had the option to join AFTRA.
Mm-hmm.
And I made some really good connections. The guy was all over the place, shooting commercials. If they're not using film, they're using videotape or there is a microphone.
Mm-hmm.
So they're recording you anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
there was an option. Well, if you're a member of SAG, for $2 billion, you can join AFTRA.
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, so I take the money I made from filming, really meaning film,
Mm-hmm.
and join radio and television artists. So I belong to two unions.
Mm-hmm.
And then the third one, I didn't join until I went to New York, and that was Actors Equity or stage acting, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they they pay scale. And what scale is that you have a minimum. I
Okay.
think at the time it was $454.36, something they negotiate.
Yep.
And the guy in charge of membership used to run the box office at the university where I got my MFA. And so by the time I went down to New Orleans and Tulane and went out to Hollywood, came back to New Orleans, and then went up to New York, during that time, I met all the movie people. And during that time, it was like, well, this is the craft, this is the real acting, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not this television shit.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So by the time I got up to New York and I went by to see the guy, I forget, I'll remember his name later. He was in charge of membership.
Mm-hmm.
And all the time I was at the university, we had two professional theaters on campus, LORT, League of Resident Theaters.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're at a school that's producing plays and you're a student there, then you get to be, small parts in a LORT, AEA. I don't know another way to say it. Equity. It's called equity.
Okay.
Then you can be a player in an equity production. And
Mm.
of course, you've got to attend rehearsals, which is usually like 4 weeks, and then the production, which is like 2 weeks. So you get 6 weeks credit for every play you're in for the 2-year stint I was there, and you accumulate those credits to be able to join the union, which I think was 54 weeks.
Wow.
So by the time I spent a conservatory during the summer, which was like 3 months, and it had all mounted up. So by the time I got to New York, I went by Equity and I said to this guy, hey, when can I get my card? And he said, oh, that should be pretty easy. We went through all the stuff that I had gone through. And he said, you get a stage name.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, okay, well, Danny Teal, I've lived with that my whole life. Who can I be? And when I was in New Orleans, I was friends with some people who were federal marshals, right? And this guy was a DEA agent, drug enforcement, right?
Okay.
And we went sailing on one of big sailboats that they confiscated from a drug dealer, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
On Lake Pontchartrain, sailing around and everybody, smoking dope or whatever. That's what DEA agents do, right?
Sure.
He said,
Yeah.
"We get the best." I
Yeah.
said, "Yeah, imagine you do. If you can't get it from Washington, right? You
Uh-huh.
confiscate it from some of these drug dealers in New
Yeah.
Orleans, and you take their boat or you take everything they have,
Yeah.
and you get to use it."
Mm-hmm.
So this guy's name was Finus Jones.
Mm-hmm.
Like Finney at the end of a film, right?
I
And
see.
I thought that's the coolest name. So I said, I'll be Finest Jones.
Wow. Yeah.
I said, well, you can be Finest Jones and you can also be Danny Teal because you could have
Mm-hmm.
two names.
Yeah.
They changed the process later so you could only be one name.
Ah.
And I thought, okay, for simplicity's sake, I am Danny Teal. I am not Finest Jones. So I'll
Mm-hmm.
go with Danny Teal.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? So let's see, that conversation started about scale.
Scale. Yeah.
So each one of these unions has a different scale.
Mm-hmm.
So when by the time I got to San Francisco, acting in Ghostbusters and all this other, whatever I could get principally, I got to San Francisco, got an agent, and she was always she handled the business, right? She answered the phone. That's what she got
Mm-hmm.
10% of the gross of what I make.
Mm.
And my manager, who was one of my students at Tulane, moved back to New York and knew people in LA because I told him he needs to be in the business. Now I think he's running a summer camp for kids,
Mm-hmm.
him
Okay.
and his wife, right? I guess she had something to do with it. But I thought he had talent. And when I told him he had talent, um, he proceeded to lose it.
Ah.
Jewish guy. And then suddenly he wanted to introduce me to people in LA, and he did a few, but anyway, that's another story. And by the time my San Francisco agent was getting me all of these jobs, she said when Metro rolled around, she said, she said, it's a booking, right? So I had to
Mm-hmm.
fly from North Carolina, where I was at that time, back to San Francisco.
Mm-hmm.
And she said it's double scale. I asked him for double scale plus your name in the credits.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So by that time, scale was I don't know, $600 a day, and I worked. I was on a 2 week hold,
Mm-hmm.
which meant that I actually when they would call me when they needed me, but I was
Yeah.
on call.
Yeah.
So every day, I was making $1,200,
Yep.
right, for
Mm-hmm.
doing nothing.
Mm-hmm.
I think
Mm-hmm.
I went shopping,
Yeah.
right, spending all the money I knew would be making.
Uh-huh.
And so that was double scale plus expenses, plus everything else. They have golden time, which is if you work over a certain amount of time, you get double that.
Wow.
If there's
Yeah.
smoke, you get smoke time.
Oh.
If it's raining, you get wet time,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just a
Mm-hmm.
huge amount of money, just to hire one little guy who
Mm-hmm.
has a pretty central role because, the director fell in love with me. I don't like black gay men, but I could have moved back to LA. But I was already situated in North Carolina, rebuilding a house
Yeah.
on my way to teach in Russia and finish my dissertation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that ended up being double scale. I got a huge amount of money.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then got called, back to New Orleans a couple of times on this scale. So suddenly you work once for double scale,
Mm-hmm.
then
Mm-hmm.
next
You
time you
can't
got to work
go
double
back.
scale,
That's
right?
right.
That's it.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
famous now,
Exactly.
and you have to know what's happening in the script so you can push the movie forward with what you say. And when the director says, forget the script, then you start saying what you know. And if they love you because that
Mm-hmm.
means
Mm-hmm.
you found somebody else we can work with. He's a different character, blah, blah, blah. And then you go to an agent in LA and you say to the agent in LA, I'm in this movie. this director wants to work with me, and they say, sign here,
That's right.
because that's automatic 10%, and all they have to
Mhm.
do is answer the phone.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
Okay.
that's the business about scale, about how you
Mhm.
create.
That's fascinating. I mean, it's interesting on a number of levels, and I think it's something we could or should integrate into Nibiru 600 if we can model that level of base services, and if there's, well, you said there's some level of, well, the words you're using, rehearsal and then production. So all that, I think that I can see
Mhm,
patterns where we could
mhm.
map it to something that already exists in the movie business and bring it to our project, the Nibiru 600, where even like these podcasts that we're talking about, having rehearsal time and production time, to have that come through as an easy method of how we do things, because
Oh,
it
that's a very good idea. And one thing I did not cover, which I think would fit within your plan very easily, is what they call residuals.
yep.
And that means that if you make the credits, you're an
Hmm.
important person.
Hmm.
You touch the product,
Yeah.
which I think is called the hero, right? Anyway,
You
you
touch.
touch that,
Yeah.
you're automatically associated with the product, so
Hmm.
you get paid extra for that.
Yep.
And then every time they roll it somewhere else or broadcast it somewhere else, there's we talked about these organizations, ASCAP and BMI in the music business, that all they do is monitor the usage of a song or whatever,
Hmm.
and then there's a rate or a scale
Yeah.
that they charge, and all you do is sit back and wait for the checks to come.
Hmm. Hmm.
If they put it
Exactly.
on cable or they show it in a theater or whatever, it's different rates.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
maybe that could be worked in there too, because that's what everybody wants.
Exactly.
Be in the credits, right? Where you
Yep.
roll the credits
Yep.
and more money. And that now you're talking about attracting people.
Exactly. Yeah, and
Maybe
we
get
got to.
Myra to join us one day.
Yeah.
Because
But
I asked him, I said, "What do you look like, man?" He said, "So he's got this associate." And I went on Twitter. He said, "Follow this guy to Twitter." And there was he looked, if this is the guy, this is his voice, right? Who it would be.
okay.
And he says, Meyer, I've got a picture of you here. And he said, what do I look like? And I said, I'm not looking at you. I'm looking at the two girls, one on each arm. It's like they look like fan dancers or something. I said, where the hell are you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was, girls, right?
Yep. Yep. Yep.
But we're just so happy to know the guy who controls all the money in the world.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
If that rings a bell,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So you never know where it's going to come from, Troy, right?
Exactly.
Just stay loose and see what happens.
Yeah. Well, I think it goes in
I
line
may
with
ask
what
him to adopt me, just so you know.
you said that last time as well. Yeah. But I think, yeah, it emphasizes, what I was talking about at the beginning. I think, you're onto a path, and whether it's with Maya or someone else or, whoever you choose, I think, you do what you do with them. But then, if when there's technology involved or an application or a project, we roll it out in the method that you're wanting to roll it out, like a movie production. So we get the casting done, we find out who's going to be involved in the project. So this is the way I see, it evolving, whether it's Maya or someone else. They come to you, and you build the relationship, the rapport, and the conversation, and they may say, I've got this idea, I want this developed, or an interesting concept that I saw, I want to be involved with that, and they come to you and you say, do you know how that can happen? And then that's when we come together and say, well, you introduce me. I'm a data scientist. We can work together and get things done. And then we start the whole movie production as if it is a movie, starting with casting and, unions and scales. And we do it all in Nibiru with the label of Nibiru 600. And as that kind of develops, we even solidify what Nibiru 600 is in terms of more of a virtual world, a place, somewhere you can log in and interact. But as we are developing it, it's just a concept and a theme or a brand that we are using for the production of, what it is that you're doing and how you can most help people like Maya or someone else. And in line with that, I was thinking we could, I'm going to share my screen and look at the website. Oop, that's the wrong screen.
I always like looking at that. Oh, business cards. Are we anywhere closer to business cards?
So, yeah, I think we have we were going to modify the logo to have datalogicalsystems.com and datalogicalservice.com.
Mm-hmm.
So Mo was doing some work on that, and I need to follow up with him on how that's coming along. But I did speak to him the other day. And
good.
There is some other work I was going to get Mo to do in relation to the website itself. I was just looking at it this morning, and it is a little slow to load. And there's this. Can you see what I'm doing on the screen?
I can. You're up with Google now, right?
Yeah.
Now, what is this request control?
Well, you can actually request to use my screen.
I'd rather not, actually. Oh, I see. It turns from an arrow into a hand. Oh, how interesting. Maybe later.
Yeah, so I can hand control over to you, or vice versa. I could control yours, but I have to request and you have to allow it.
Okay.
So on a technical side, our website needs a little work. And I should have mentioned this when Barry and Deandra were negotiating on the final price as well. Yeah, I don't think I mentioned, because we just never got around to it, but I spoke with Barry and he did want the money for the extra hours, and I told him, we weren't going to pay that, and gave him the justification of the reasons that we discussed, and he was fine with that.
Really?
So, yeah, we just finished off saying, well, if there's extra work coming, we'll make sure he addresses those issues first, and yeah, we'll.
Yeah, good. I think it's essential, and I want to compliment you on how well you're doing, that we maintain control over people like this.
Yeah.
Right? Or they'll, as you've seen already 2 or 3 times, they'll just take the wheel out of your hands and go where they want to go, and you have to pay for all the gas.
Exactly. So, yeah, I want to get Mo onto our website to make it run within the 90 to 100% efficiency rate. Right now, it's less than 50%.
43.
Yeah. So this site gives you an idea of what needs to change to fix it all up and to make it more efficient. So it's pretty simple for Mo. He can come in and just read this and do what's necessary.
Okay.
And then we'll have the site. It's one of the main things is the number of images we use and how the size of them. So we're using a lot of images, and they can be cut down in terms of by a factor of 10, but still have the same resolution.
Are they all cached at the same time and then you just have to go there? Or do you go there and then when you are on your way, are they cached?
Well, they're cached on the first instance you go there. So if you're a user and you've never gone to the website before,
Mhm.
Data Logical Services, it could take up to what was the time up here? I think it was 10.8 seconds.
Mhm.
So it could take almost 11 seconds for you to see it. But once you've seen it once, the images are cached, so it doesn't take that same amount of time.
How does it work now? When you say cached, I say cached, right?
Sure, cached.
Is that downloaded somehow onto my computer,
Exactly.
or is it like a passport that's stored in the cloud and I can access it through a code?
It's downloaded onto your computer, onto
Uh-huh.
your device. Yeah, whether it's a mobile phone or your PC or a tablet. Once you see it, it's put into the cache of the browser. So this is what we're using, Chrome. So if you were to use a different browser, then you'd see the same lag when you went to the site because it's a different cache.
Mhm.
But yeah, I'll talk to Mo about resolving those technical issues. But on the content side, let me go back. There was one thing in particular that's kind of just jumping out at me, which is on the services page where we say we transform underappreciated and ill-defined distributed ledger approaches into agile, creative, majestic, and highly productive blockchain solutions. And the words that jump out is blockchain and distributed ledger. That kind of ties us in to that. And I think what we can do is a little even more broader than just blockchain and distributed ledger approaches.
Mhm. What do you suggest? We're talking about verbiage, right?
Yeah,
Well, services too, because we are changing, so
that's
it
right.
seems, right?
Yeah. So
May I speak?
please.
Can you go up just a notch so I can? Okay. Um, my first impression, which is usually correct, could be as simple as which we transformed underappreciated and ill-defined approaches
Mm-hmm.
into agile, creative, majestic, and highly productive solutions.
Mm-hmm.
So you've taken out, two reference points,
Mm-hmm.
which
Mm-hmm.
which seems to be, as far as I can discern, the touch points that you were
Yep,
bringing up.
exactly.
Am I right?
Yeah. If you're happy with that, I'll do that right now because,
Sure.
and it's in relation to our first podcast or public podcast. When we record it and show the site, I'd like to, exactly what you're saying, have those two descriptive words removed because
Mhm.
that's going to be, I think, a significant reference point for everybody who we introduce is to say,
Mm.
here's our first podcast. It's a little shaky, it's raw, but you'll get to see what we're all about. And if that's in there for our first podcast, I feel it's going to limit us
I
to a
think you're
certain
right.
route.
Yep. Yep.
So this is the tool that we use to make updates. And yeah, just to emphasize what we were talking about Barry and Delta Star, what they wanted to get to was a point where, okay, you and I discussed that we want to remove these two words. Okay, I'll get Barry on the phone. Okay, Barry, we need this updated. And he's like, okay, well, we gave you the base rate last time, so it's going to be a higher rate this time. And
Ka-ching, ka-ching.
yeah, because, I know WordPress and I know the systems, and we've got the technical side under control. We can go in and make it change straight away.
Great. Good move. Meyer was talking about a friend he knows. We're talking about North Carolina, and he's making references about property that he's bought here and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And because I'm going to introduce him to one, which he already has the references.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, I've got a friend in Gastonia, and he named some big Gambino family or something like that. And he said, yeah, what was it? Luciano Gambino. He died of lead poisoning. And I said, what? And he said, yeah, his girlfriend shot him.
Lead poisoning. Yeah.
That's one way to go.
So we transform underappreciated and ill-defined approaches into agile, creative, majestic, and highly productive solutions.
That's easier on the brain.
Yep.
It does leave a little vacancy, which could be translated as some kind of attractive quality, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
As to what area are you talking about?
Exactly.
Because it's very broad, Yeah, we deal with creative people. It's like, okay, if you're in high school, I understand that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or even in college, I understand that. But when you get into making your mark in the world, you and I have discussed that already. Your creative efforts are much different than my creative efforts.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's right.
we can, when we go over the web page next week, or this coming week in a couple of days, I think we can rest, W-R-E-S-T, that into a more simple form to define this transformation that we're speaking about in a more particular way. I'm not sure how at this moment, but because it's like, what are we talking about? With this invitation, which I still like tremendously, to make an application for a visa. Right? You want to visit Nibiru?
Yep.
Then you have to apply. Just like, what are you going to do? The process we've started already. To let us know, why you want to do this.
Exactly.
And what kind of adjutant or cooperative services would you like to work with? And then we can principally say we have an opening for a farmer based on our first applicant, our first Adam.
Exactly. Yeah.
And which formulated from there. Because we're creating, in some ways, we're gods. We are gods, right? And unless people think about it in a more, objective way, we're doing the same thing. That we don't actually know that what we are doing now is not already being represented in another place. It's like it begins with thought. So is our thought, and I believe that it is, being transmuted into something material?
Exactly.
It takes a while. 6 days, something like that.
Yeah. And this next day of rest. So I'm going to just try without phones for a while. Let me know how that
Do
sounds.
we have like little Nazi tattoos on our forehead?
Photoshop those in.
We can put them in later. Or the little Nibiru cuneiform, right?
Yeah. What is that?
We'll have like Star Trek
Yeah.
suits on,
Mm-hmm.
control room of the Enterprise.
Exactly. Have you ever played with like Messenger, Facebook Messenger, where you're just wearing a hat or you got the glasses and the? Have you done that?
No, Lena does that all the time. I send her a picture and it comes back, like some tomfoolery. Like, okay, thank you. So yeah, she does it, but I don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
Not yet, anyway.
But yeah, I think just recapping what you're talking about, going through the process as if it's a movie, and we're casting people and we're expecting them to come back and say whether they're double scale or single scale or even getting to the scale.
A day player.
What's that?
A day player.
Day player. Yeah.
Right. You're just here for the day. We need a warm body.
Exactly. Yep.
Right. That's you. That's what you're doing. Here's what I want you to do.
Yep.
Right. Walk from over here to over here and don't look at the cameras, Dodo.
Yeah. Well, because I see this perfectly like in line with what my role as a data scientist is to get involved with the domain expertise. If I use so your domain expertise now, what I know you have many different expertise in many domains, but if we focus on the acting and the what we're talking about now, as a data scientist, I would immerse myself into that and read up on it, research it, understand, when scaling, I understand, yeah, it's a process of this and that. So what I think I want to do is just research that, learn more about that, and bring it into, as we move forward, with the context of Nibiru 600. So I can run past some ideas, and you can talk freely about the terminology and the way you would as if we're making a movie, and then we can have the definitions, and I can be that interface, that communication interface, that bridge between the guys that might be highly technical and we need the website developed or whatever. And I can introduce it to them in a concept where they understand it, and we still have that overall theme of we're making a movie. I think that will really work as an entertaining and interesting approach for whatever comes of it. And I think, as we develop these podcasts, we can talk more about those, and people can watch them, and then it'll draw people out, and they'll be saying, where do I sign for my membership? And we'll also play it, like you said, with like a visa. Like I think it'll be a mixture of the acting domain plus, actually going to a new world.
I see. I see a role I have now that I didn't have 5 minutes ago. And I'm going to have to write it down, but not now.
Okay.
And I want to think about it, be alone. Is in the order of things, the grand order of things, it begins with a concept, right? Which I think I can pretty much write down.
Mm-hmm.
And then, needless to say, a script.
Sure.
Some kind of a script, right?
Yep.
Even if it's just a synopsis.
Yep.
And I will be doing that under the working title of Genesis.
Perfect.
Okay.
Yep. Sounds good to me.
That's one of those wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning things, right? Go downstairs, turn the heat on, and write.
Yeah.
Okay, seeds planted.
Right.
It's interesting. I want to show you something, but I showed you this yesterday, I believe,
Did see that.
right?
Yep.
But it's little things which I think I'll emphasize about the intuitive, which would sort of be intuitive would be our maybe operating procedure. But I want to show you something I picked up while I was in Newbern. It's upstairs, so give me 1 second, okay? Could be interesting.
Okay.
This is part of those mysteries we don't understand. This morning, Meyer sent a post that showed a well-dressed monkey sitting in an armchair with beard, right? Reading from a book, and he made some comments underneath. And I thought, that's this morning. Yesterday, before I came home, I went and I bought this little pin, and I bought this thing. And I made a relationship to this thing.
Wow. That like, oh yeah, monkey face.
I'm gonna take the candles out
Okay.
and give you access to the face.
Yep.
A little bit.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
Yep.
And needless to say, I've never seen a candelabra like this before. It's bronze, right? And he's well dressed.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I complained to the antique dealer. I said, you know what? Because you can see in places like this where it's been corroded with bronze.
Yep.
And what people try to do is they try to make it more sellable, when in fact they're destroying the real value, with a wire brush or whatever, the Brasso, whatever they're using to make it more sellable, and they're destroying it.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, I mean, he's wearing shoes from like the 1700s, right?
Yep.
And the breeches from 1700s, and the coat tail, and this little thing here, the jabot.
Yep.
And the first thing that came to my mind was the ape face and Meyer's ape face and Nibiru. So if we're going to be doing a set, right, a place where we're going to be shooting, then I might do a little set dressing.
That sounds great.
right,
Yeah,
from time to time about these kinds of things that will bring it hone it in.
exactly, exactly.
But you know, that's why I mentioned when you were talking, and I was thinking intuitive, right? It's that base of knowledge that I want to pull out of people. I don't want to know what they've been taught.
Mm-hmm.
I want to know what they feel, what they think, what's intuitive. I want to get down to their base nature,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because whatever it is that they've been taught, I'm sure I could, you know, visit their curriculum or
Exactly.
whatever
Yeah.
and know who they are. I don't want to know who they are. I want to know who they can be.
Yep. Awesome.
And I think in prompting this kind of stuff with these kinds of set dressings, or what do they call now? I forget. Props. With
Yeah.
these kinds of props,
Great.
um, could be well. It's encouraging to me, whether it's shown on camera or not. Um, it can still help guide our thinking, because this guy's holding up two lights,
Yep.
and he's dressed as a servant,
Mm-hmm.
doing what he does best.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking it's inspiring. It's intuitive and it's inspiring. And I think I will probably be encouraging a lot of people who come on to have these kinds of props, you know, around them. I don't want to see geodes, right, where they slice them in half and you see the crystals inside. That's too much. But
Mm-hmm.
something unusual like that as a source of their inspiration, or as I mentioned yesterday, you know, if you and we can work something out here. I think it's an opportunity. If you have something in your hand, I would ask them, have something in your hand,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yep.
Whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
Could be a ring. You know, a lot of people like to do this kind of stuff, right? Move a ring round and round or whatever. And all of these seemingly strange reactions, I think, will feed us on to our destination, even if we don't know where they're taking us, which is where we're going. To go where no man has gone before.
Nice.
But I'm not a Trekkie.
Okay. Okay.
We can do better than
Yeah. The next.
that. No Star Wars either.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah. Something new.
something new, right? And I think you're right, Troy, about everything. And I like the way you're managing everything. It's
Great.
inspiring. Yeah, it's inspiring, and it's wonderful. And I want to thank you for everything you're doing. You know, from your background to all of it, all
Great.
of it.
Great.
Yeah, it's working already, and it's gonna keep working.
Exactly. You that too. So yeah. All right.
Right? We're still taping, aren't we?
Still recording.
Archives.
Yeah. Going to the archives.
Sure, why not? I won't tell any of my jokes.
Okay.
Save them for later. There was a guy from Nibiru.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I'll work on my script, the script,
Yep.
creating a different reality.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a dream reality, really. Not that difficult.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Mhm.
Yeah. You work on that. I mean, and then we'll focus that, the team and the of data science into making that a reality for you.
Yeah,
You've
great.
just, got the power of not just me, but 85,000 data scientists to make your dream a reality.
That's amazing.
Let's
Wow.
see how it goes.
I feel like I've been touched by the hand of God or something, you know. One of these little things, right?
Yeah.
Wow, Troy. Wow. Okay.
Okay.
I'm fascinated by it. Wonderful. And now a word from our sponsor.
But no, I mean, I see going back to what you were talking about, tarnishing it or, trying to make something more saleable and actually ruining the essence of the artistic, having some level of, character removed by trying to just please what they think is the majority of the buyer. And there is a shame that some people will see and go, oh, but it's the truth, the eye that can see the beauty past that we want to maintain the focus and attention of. So they're the people we want to work with, not the people that say, oh, what a cute little monkey. Think, but it's a little brown at the bottom. I'm not going to buy that. But it's maintaining that balance, I think, as well. And we're doing it with what we've been talking the props or the reality that's your background with the technology and innovation of mine, and bring a mixture of innovation and tradition together.
That's wonderful. There was a time in my life when I was trying very hard to get a theater position in Ireland.
Right.
And somebody asked me for start your own theater, they said. I didn't do it. I should have. I would be much happier today. But it was like, my first production would be a very, very simple play, right? Nothing earth-shattering or whatever, which I could probably write one of those in an hour.
Sure.
But I've got some very interesting work done. But the point being that you're on stage in a theater and the play is going on, and 5 minutes into the play, probably on a theater on a turntable, right? The stage turns around and there's a car salesman there, right? Who's telling you that this kind of in live theater. And then when he finishes, turn the stage back to and continue the play.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And as I still want to do that play,
Mm-hmm.
Very interesting to bring that commercial reality into the flesh.
Yeah.
Just to show people how bothersome it is, right? And then I think since I was a child, I have had a big problem with, okay, John Kennedy was shot today. Now a word from our sponsor, right? Do you like ice cream as much as we like ice cream? And it's like, what the fuck? Or you like this long range rifle? How about the scope? Clip just slips in and the background you can show, right? I got him, and then back to the news report.
Yeah.
That would work.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Or welcome to our mortuary, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a sad time, but if you really want it done right, interred, even if your head's blown off, right? Like our president, we can put it back together and you'll never know.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That would work.
Yeah.
But not like you signed up on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
Who gives a fuck? I don't.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I see we're over an hour now.
Yeah.
Yep.
Great. Yeah. Great. I think I've got some recording to review. I still want to see how that came out, and then I think we make some decisions on this tool. Seems to work, and then we can.
All right. Wow.
Keep trying until we get our first one, and we'll publish that, and then we'll see however often we want to do them. We just roll them out. All right.
Okay. Cheers, brother.
All right.
I'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah. Thanks,
Bye
Danny.
now.
Bye.